Hey, Paul. So I just listened to your piece, Song of Moving On, where you use the notes available in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask from the N64 controller. It's a really great piece. I like it a lot. I love the aesthetic you have going. I think you really sort of captured the Zelda vibe. I think all the sounds are spot on. I also love the development of the piece. I love how it's very segmented in a very strong way, because the sections are sort of they manage to build on top of each other, but also kind of like propel the piece forward and sort of tell the story of what you're trying to tell, in the sense that the song you said was about, you would learn the song and play it before leaving Hyrule behind and entering Termina. So I definitely got that sense, that sort of the initial statement of the song has a little bit of a sense of saying goodbye, perhaps. But then it moves into this other kind of quality that feels more curious and a little bit mysterious, but also has a little bit of majesty to it, which is cool. And I like that, you sort of pull back the melody and let sort of the elements tell the story at certain sections. All the harmony is really cool. I like all the twists and turns. I think it supports the piece really well. I don't have a whole lot of constructive criticism for it. I mean, if I was nitpicking, I might say that maybe you could pull back some of the pizzicato usage here and there, just to break it up a little bit more. But overall, I think it's a really solid piece. So great job. Hey, Michel. I just listened to your Mega Monsieur 2.5 intro / title screen track, and I want to say great job. It's really great. What's cool about it is, well, I think you really nailed the style and the aesthetic of Mega Man, but also I think placing it as between Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3, like the way Mega Man 2 starts is it has sort of more of an optimistic and kind of light intro. This feels like where it's a continuation, like it's like things are in the midst of conflict, which is interesting. It kind of gives it like it gives it an interesting quality, and it gets my mind thinking about like the story and where we are in the story, which is really cool. And I like the way that you mimic the structure, the way that you have an intro that's about 45 seconds or so, and then suddenly you have like a big jolt and a big acceleration of tempo to go into a title section. And I think that all works really well. My primary feedback, as far as like constructive criticism, would be that I think that the title section, it feels very much like a continuation of the introduction, whereas like in Mega Man 2, for instance, those two sections have there's more of a duality there. It's more of a thematic shift, which allows it to feel more contrasted. And I think if the title section of this maybe was a little less like a B section, like this, it feels like a B section that just happens to be like pumped up. Maybe it's a different key, maybe melodically it's a little bit more concise. I think that would make it even stronger. But overall, it's fantastic. It's very well done. So great job. Hey, D Major. I just listened to your track where you did an original alternative score for the Hornet boss fight from Hollow Knight. Great job. It's really cool. I was bumping along, nodding my head and stuff. It's very groovy. I really like the the harmony and the rhythmic choices you made and the way it develops. It feels like a boss fight. It's you know, it has enough of this, you know, has a certain amount of the same DNA as the original, but is also very different in a nice way. Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. I think in going back and looking at Hollow Knight, which I actually haven't played Hollow Knight, I need to play that, but I went back and looked at the boss fight with the original music and stuff, just to get and listen to some of the soundtrack to get a kind of a sense of it. You know, that there was sort of a Twilight twinkly sort of element to that score, a little bit of a Japanese influence. This feels like it's more of its own thing, which is cool. I would say it sounded maybe mono. I'm not sure. I'm just listening on my laptop, so I'm not giving like super specific mix type notes or anything like that. But I felt like they could maybe be a little opened up, or maybe there could be some more counter elements, like in the higher frequencies, just little twinkly things or things to kind of like help with the development, especially as it's moving through its development. Like I think maybe there's like maybe 2 cycles, or it kind of had that feeling to me. I think all of that would help, but you know, all the string writing seems like you know, the large majority of, like, you know, building the foundation of the piece, and it's all there already, and I think it works really well and is really interesting. So yeah, great job. Hey Graham, I just checked out your track Arliss Chase, inspired by the first Tomb Raider game, where you said it was a great adventure with fantastic music. I agree. And the chase is when the monster appears. So I think the piece is really cool. I think that the instrumentation in the piece is really solid. It lays a really good foundation for a chase sequence, especially something in sort of the adventure style, with those big horn rips, the sort of like almost atonal pattern you have going in the staccato piano stuff, the off snare drums, like all that stuff works really well together. My main feedback would be that I think that the piece could probably have a little bit more variation in it. I think there's quite a lot of horn rips in it, and maybe if there was some other, there's some sort of shift to some other section, or maybe even something a little bit more harmonic to break it up. I think it could benefit maybe from some sort of change, just so that you're not relying too much on, you know, sort of the elements that you have there. But it's a really cool piece. Great job. Hey Modal Module, I just checked out your track. It doesn't have a name maybe. V's theme. So the description you wrote: on the way to Sigma's fortress, Mega Man X is stopped suddenly by V. He knows nothing of this mysterious woman, only that she's blocking his path. Does she mean him harm, or is she an ally? One thing is certain, he senses great strength. So this is a really cool piece. I like it. I think you really captured the aesthetic of Mega Man X. Not super well versed in Mega Man, but I went back and spent some time with it just to refamiliarize myself with it. Also looked at, like, for instance, like the introduction of Zero, and like right after the first main battle in Mega Man X. And what I noticed about that is that it's sort of you know, the stage music in Mega Man X, and I would imagine most of the Mega Mans, has sort of it tends to live in a certain pocket as far as like tempo, and the intro music for Zero is slightly slower, and this is as well, and I think that works really well. I think this is a really strong piece. It's very it has a lot of energy, which is good, I think, for the prompt that you set up for yourself. That this woman is blocking his path, which is very powerful. I got the sense that I got from the music was that there was an instinct, perhaps, that this character was leaning more towards being an ally than someone who was meaning him harm. I don't know if that was your intention or not, but that was sort of the impression that I got from the music. There's definitely, a feeling of, oh, this is like an awe-inspiring person who has it together and is very, strong, as you say. So I think in that sense it accomplishes what you were setting out for very well. And I mean, musically, I think it's impeccably Mega Man-esque, especially of this era of Mega Man. Because the style is, I think, it's somewhat different than, say, NES Mega Man. There's more, it's more shreddy, more chugging guitars and whatnot. Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's a cool piece. So great job. Hey, Promtastik. I just listened to your rescoring of the alternate All Roxas Quarters from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I'm not sure if the one that I listened to, the original, is the one that you were referencing, but it definitely had some of the same elements. It was a waltz. So I'm going to go off of that because that's what I listened to as a reference point. I think you did a really great job. It's, it has sort of the same principle to it, perhaps, but it also stands on its own and goes into some slightly different directions, and it feels, in my opinion, it feels a little bit more sophisticated than the one in the game does. It's a little less athletic. It's a little more leaning into the waltz, leaning into the sort of like grandiosity of being in a palatial setting, and all of that I think is a really nice counterpart to the game, like watching the footage as an example. The idea of Castlevania, and because in some ways it almost runs a little bit counter to the experience. I think the music in the game can do that sometimes, when you're doing all this very violent stuff, dealing with all these monsters and stuff, and the music can be a little bit coy or stately. I think in this case it's even more the case, which makes the feeling of it even more noticeable. Personally, I find the effect of that to be really strong and interesting. The writing, the orchestration, I think all of it is excellent. I think you did a really great job. I know you were hoping for some feedback on mixing orchestration. I'm not in a situation to do like really thorough listening for mix stuff, but the one thing that I did notice is that I felt like maybe the piano was a little bit too forward in the mix, and could maybe find a more comfortable location that's a little further back, or maybe a little bit more reverberant. Yeah, I really like the piece. I think it's awesome. Great job. Hey, Samuel. I just listened to your piece, Beginning of an Adventure, and you described it as, this piece tells a story of a newcomer existed to explore the vast world that is Morrowind. Morrowind is one of my favorite games. Casting magic and fighting creatures, they don't know that this is only the beginning. Yeah, I think you did a great job in sort of like laying out a good structure for that experience. I definitely got the sense, like you have the screen cap here of the beginning of Morrowind, getting dropped off at the dock. Like it evoked that feeling in me. It actually made me, the aesthetic style of it sounded like maybe you wrote this in notation software, and because it has that quality to it, it actually reminded me of an older Elder Scrolls game. Made me think of like maybe Redguard or something, and you know, the pacing of it, the instrumentation, it all sort of lent itself well to the beginning of an adventure. It feels like an adventure. There's a pensive quality. There's a bit of a curiosity to it. There's definitely a sense of like uncertainty, which it all works really well. I think because it, and I don't want to assume this, but I think because it sounds like it's was written with notation software or perhaps something like that. It's a little hard to like I have to use my imagination a little bit to imagine what some of the intentions were as far as like dynamics and the way that instruments come in and out. Also, I think the recording got cut off a little bit at the end. I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, I think if you had the opportunity to develop sort of the sound of the piece a little bit more, it could help take it further as far as creating more of a sense of dynamism in the piece. There's also like there's some nice sectioning happening, and I think the bass set of instruments that you've chosen work really well. I think it would be nice to maybe hear a few more instrumental changes just to add a little bit more variety to it. But I think you did a really good job in sort of capturing the tone and, you know, the feeling of the beginning of an Elder Scrolls adventure in sort of the older style. So good job. Hey Chris, I just listened to your Imaginary Hyperlight Drifter DLC Part 2. I had already listened to the first one and left you some feedback on Twitter. Great job with that, it was awesome. It's especially fun for me to listen to people who are taking cracks at soundtracks that I've scored. It's very humbling and inspiring to hear it. And so what you did for this, I think, is really cool. The sound design is really interesting. You have a lot of really cool elements going on. I love watching that like sort of slow gliding portamento bass on the spectrograph in the video. It's kind of funny to just kind of see it squiggling like that. But also, you know, just sonically, it has a really cool. It creates a really cool affect to have that sort of that moving bass line that is, you know, you can't really peg down, and so it's building. There's tension that's building in that just sort of naturally. And I love all the little segments that you bring in and out, and there's some really cool, interesting like sounds and runs that go on. So it's really cool. I really like it. I would say that as far as things that I thought could maybe take it even further, a couple of things came to mind. One was that it has there's sort of a constancy to the dynamic of the track. I think because you have sort of the full percussion and rhythm bass sort of section going through the whole thing. If it was more graduated, like if you didn't start with the portamento bass, maybe it came in later, or maybe the percussion elements were building or something. Like I could see, because there's so much inherent like tension in the style that you've created, if you could focus more on pushing the intensity over time and then pulling it back, like you could probably take this demo that you created that's 90 seconds, you could probably do this for like 10-20 minutes just by pulling things forward and pulling them back. Not unlike the Gauntlet music from Hyperlight Drifter, which kind of does a similar thing, where it's pretty much a vamp, but it's just like pulling things in and out, pulling things forward, pulling things back. All those sort of variety choices help a lot, and I think you have tons of great elements here. If you were to play with how you introduce them, this could easily be stretched out into a much longer track, and it would work really well. So great job. Hey Rick, I just checked out your track, your sort of modernization and extension of the Brainlord soundtrack from for the Super Nintendo. It's really cool. I like it a lot. This is a game I had not heard of, as you had suggested that most people would not have heard of before. But definitely, in checking it out a little bit, can see that it was an Enix title, and it has that sort of it has that vibe. There's the original music is really cool. It's funky. It's like, it has this sort of keyboard anime, slightly techno, not techno, like technological sort of vibe to it. A lot of the slap bass and stuff. It's really cool. It's fun, and I think you captured that super well. And also, in using the higher fidelity sounds, making it a more modern rendition, especially with like the really dialed in drums, which are really cool. That all I think works excellently. And then also thematically with this track, A Hero's Decision, it being the sort of scenario that you would see in an RPG, particularly a Japanese RPG, where the characters are at a crossroads or whatever, and then the protagonist is like deciding to soldier on in spite of the odds. I've obviously seen that sort of scene in a lot of games. I think that this piece of music really captures that feeling really well. You created like a very interesting and triumphant, sort of emotional, like transcending conflict kind of feeling in a minute and 15 seconds or so of the loop that I think is happening twice there. I think it works super well. I don't really have any constructive criticism for you. I think it's great. So good job. Hi Aisa, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I just listened to your track Lidna's Theme from The Legend of Aisa. It's really great. I like it. All the elements are cool. All the sections are cool. Nice melody, nice. The piano runs you have, all the supporting arrangement and stuff is all really cool. Two things that could help with this piece is the way that the elements come in. They all sort of come in very quickly on top of each other. It's like a bar, and then the strings come in, and then it's a bar, and then the melody comes in. Everything has sort of there's sort of like a clockwork sort of development that's going on, and I think if it was a little more expressive, maybe stretching out some of the sections, maybe giving the ostinato, the piano part, like more time by itself before bringing in the melody, that would help. That I think could help. Also, maybe playing with crescendos and decrescendos, trying to find a little bit more expression and sort of the entrances and exits of the parts, like the piano, the strings. I think all of that could also elevate the piece even more, because it's already working pretty well, I think. The other thing that could maybe help is maybe just having one or two more turns or slight surprises, like harmonically or something, just to stretch the effect of the piece, especially because you've designed it as sort of like a 2-minute-ish looping piece. If it has a little bit more harmonic sort of twists and turns in it, even just a couple, that will go a long way, I think. Great job.